Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, November 2nd. A federal government shutdown is more than a month old. Food benefits are out of money. The state senator who controls Massachusetts cash is here in the chair this morning to answer our question. It's time to go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR, and thank you for joining us. I'm Ed Harding.
And I'm Sharmin Sacchetti. Joining us, State Senator Michael Rodrigues, a Democrat from the South Coast. He represents the 1st Bristol and Plymouth District. He's the chairman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee, and he previously served in the House from 1996 to 2020. 2010. He is a graduate of Southeastern Massachusetts University, which is now known as UMass Dartmouth. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Great
Good to see you.
Senator.
Good to
Thanks
see
for
you.
Coming in. So let's start with SNAP benefits. The big shutdown impact. SNAP benefit funds running out. New month. Clock running out. It was last week that Governor Maura Healey said that she would allocate $4 million to food pantries, but she would not tap into the state's rainy day fund. Other governors in nearby states did choose to tap into those reserve funds, and at last count, maybe 10 or 10 plus states in the union are doing it. So did Governor Healey make the right call?
I think Governor Healey absolutely made the right call. She accelerated. Think of what we do. Food insecurity is something that we've been focused on in the legislature for a while now, especially during COVID in the pandemic. The FEMAP, and I apologize for acronyms, the Federal Emergency Food Banks program. We funded at $55 million this year, a record number. This is pre-government shutdown. Universal school meals at almost $200 million, so every school child in the state gets free breakfast and lunch. WIC, HIP programs, so food insecurity is something we've always been very focused on, and the governor, by accelerating getting money out the door quicker to our food banks, I think was the right step.
And it's doubling the funding, essentially.
It's doubling the funding this month.
But
yes.
it seems like a drop in the bucket. And I want to go to an interview I did last week with the governor. I asked her about the emergency shelter crisis that the state had experienced over the last few years and how the state was able to find money to stand up those shelters in really very little time. Here's a listen. When the state had to provide emergency shelter for families, it found a way to do it, and it spent $1 billion a year doing it. Can't they just find a way to do this?
Again, the math doesn't work here. There's no way.
So many of those families were also not U.S. citizens. And so there is some criticism coming, certainly from Republicans out there, who are saying the governor should be using, if anything, some of these rainy day funds to cover more of the $240 million gap here.
Well, we'll see what happens. Nothing is off the table. We never rule anything off the table. The emergency shelter was a state responsibility, so we use state funds for a state responsibility. SNAP is a federal responsibility. The President of the United States has the ability, has the authority, and has the available money in USDA reserves in order to ensure that SNAP benefits are paid by the federal government this month. We will see what happens. We'll go forward. No one in Commonwealth of Massachusetts is going to starve. We are going to continue our commitment to providing food for all those that need it here in the Commonwealth.
Is the concern you won't be reimbursed?
I don't think we would be reimbursed at all, and it's not a one-issue problem coming out of the federal government right now. Today, the issue is SNAP. Very shortly, the issue is going to be LIHEAP, low-income heating assistance. There are just countless of the numbers of these federal programs that the Commonwealth cannot backfill. All important programs to provide vital services for our constituents, but we will bleed through our rainy day fund in no time, and we will not have the resources to use what that rainy day fund is all about, which is protecting and ensuring that we can continue programs that the state is responsible for.
Senator, you're very prescient because another federally funded program that helps people is pay their home heating bills. That could be in jeopardy because of the government shutdown. It's known as, if I say it right, LIHEAP, or the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. Everything's got one of those, right?
Oh yeah, we all have acronyms.
Is there anything you think the governor or lawmakers should do, have to do? Because we're going into winter, we're going into the colder months to cover that. Or can you?
We can supplement LIHEAP. We have in the past. There have been years in the past where the amount of federal appropriations for LIHEAP for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts ran low, And we have supplemented that in the past, and we will look at that again if necessary going forward. We will look at supplementing food security programs if needed going forward. But to blanketly say that we can backfill these federal cuts, it's impossible to happen.
I want to ask you about some messaging issues. Last week, Republican State Senator Ryan Fatman, he shut down the state Senate session. He objected to the Healey administration posting a message on the official state website, the mass.gov website, blaming President Trump for not funding SNAP. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
That's just not the right thing to be doing with taxpayer-funded resources, and I'm not sure it's ethically allowed.
So we've also seen the Trump administration blame Democrats on federal government websites. Senator Fatman says that's wrong too. Is he right or wrong?
We should not be shutting down people's business because you object to what somebody says or you object to what somebody posts online. We have a long history in the Massachusetts Senate of allowing open deliberation, discussion. We don't shut anyone down. It was disappointed that Senator Fatman shut the session down when we were trying to appoint our conference committee members so that we can begin our conference committee meetings on the final closeout FY25 budget.
Did he have a point? Does he have a point?
He could have a point, but there are other ways to express a point other than obstructing business and shutting things down. Everyone's going to have an opinion on, and play the blame game, whether it's the governor blaming the president or the president blaming Democratic Congress members. Mm-hmm. That's politics, that's the blame game. But don't bring this shutdown mentality from Washington, D.C. into the Massachusetts legislature. We pride ourselves in being open, conducting business, and trying to be above that fray because we have important work to do. We have to close out the FY25 budget. We, on last Monday, wanted to appoint our conferees so that we can begin conference committee hearings on Wednesday, hoping to get it done by Friday, October 31st, to get that information over to our comptroller, who's got important work to do. Now we're delayed till next week, we'll begin on Monday, conference committee meetings, and Chair Michaelwitz and I will work 24/7 to get it done as quickly as possible.
Next item, earlier this month, more than 150 more cases were dismissed because of the work stoppage by the bar advocates, and some of the charges that these defendants are facing include gun charges, assaulting police officers, drunk driving, domestic violence charges. They can be reapplied and then reconnected and then retried, certainly. Right. But right now, This is where we are. Lawmakers approved a pay raise, but it wasn't enough to get them all back to work. Will you, can you, should you be doing more?
I think we did quite a bit. A 30% pay raise for private bar advocates, $40 million investment, additional investment to the Corporation of Public Counsel Services, which is the agency that hires public defenders for staff or contracts with private bar advocates. So I think that was an amazing additional investment that we made to ensure that the constitutional rights, every defendant is entitled to counsel, including indigent defendants. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, in my neck of the woods, Bristol County, there's been no bar advocate action. Matter of fact, I was with a number of bar advocates last weekend, and they were thanking me for the pay raise, and they were happy.
But it is still an issue, clearly. If more than 1,000 cases have been dismissed, almost 1,500. So what's the solution then?
The solution is that CPCS is utilizing the extra $40 million that we've given them to hire another, I believe, 167 public defenders to their office so that we don't have to rely on the private bar advocates. It's going to take time. It's an action only happening in Suffolk County. It's not happening elsewhere around the state. Mm-hmm. So we are going to continue to, we take...
And Middlesex, I believe.
Maybe a couple of Middlesex, but I think Middlesex has been taken care of. But we take our constitutional responsibility very seriously to provide counsel to indigent defendants, and we are appropriating as much as we can to do that.
Local business leaders, they are hoping the legislature kills the estate tax here in Massachusetts, citing the high cost of doing business in the state. 2 years ago, lawmakers voted to raise the threshold from $1 million to $2 million. Is it time to get rid of the estate tax?
We'll take a look at it. We passed the largest tax cut in history last session. And the hallmark of that, as you said, was to double the estate tax exemption from $1 million to $2 million. But more importantly than that, we eliminated the so-called fiscal cliff. Prior to the action that we took 2 years ago, the first $1 million of your estate was exempt. If you had your estate was valued at $1,000,001, you pay taxes on that full estate.
Business leaders say this is a reason why it's hard to do business, the high cost of living.
There are a lot of reasons why it's hard to do business in Massachusetts, and we are focused on affordability and competitiveness all the time. It's taxation, certainly. It's cost of energy, cost of housing. We are trying to focus every single day. We have discussions of what we can do to make Massachusetts more competitive, more affordable, more competitive for our businesses and our employers, and also more competitive and affordable for our younger residents. The 25 to 40-year-old, that's the demographic that unfortunately are leaving the state in the largest numbers. That's the demographic that we really can't afford to lose, that we need to do everything we can to keep, these 25 to 40-year-olds here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Senator Roderick is in the chair. We're on the record this morning. Stay with us.